In previous videos, we talked about ways of how you could help your child learning Spanish at home, and also how learning Spanish can benefit your child's well-being. Well, in this video, you will see me interviewing someone who puts into practice all that we have seen so far. So let's get started. Hello, everybody. This is Margarita, and this is for the YouTube channel Español para la Vida. So today I got a guest. He is an American citizen, and he's a language enthusiastic, and he's learning Spanish. So let me introduce you to Shane Brenner. Hi, Shane. How are you today?
Hey, I'm doing great. How you doing?
I'm good
¿Qué
too.
tal?
Muy bien, muy bien. So today I brought you here because I think you are the perfect person to talk to about learning Spanish and being an American and learning Spanish and not having learned the language in a Spanish-speaking country. So first of all, tell us a little bit about yourself and why is it that you are so interested in learning foreign languages and particularly Spanish?
Oh, sure. So I live in Salt Lake City, Utah, and I started studying Spanish about 3 years ago. Spanish is the second most spoken language, so that's one reason to learn it. You know, everybody speaks Spanish around me. You know, I got my babysitter, niñera, is that right?
Yeah, that's correct.
She speaks it. So my child's surrounded by it constantly. I got tons of friends. I grew up with a lot of friends that spoke it, and I didn't speak it, so I felt left out of the club, the Spanish-speaking club. And so, there's a ton of music. You know, like I listen to a lot of hip hop. I always grew up listening to hip hop, so a lot of Spanish hip hop. So I wanted to understand what they're saying, you know. Yeah, I mean, there's so many reasons. I'm actually of the a kind of unique belief. I don't know if it's a unique belief, but an extra belief on top of that is that language learning is one of the best brain games. You know, I think a lot of times people use their phones to play all these games where find the duck in the crowd, or I don't know, some weird obscure game, and it's like, to me, I could do so many things. Like, I mean, anybody that's tried to learn a language knows how cognitively demanding it is. You're like, oh man, it's you know, it gets easier. I mean, so I don't want to scare anyone. It gets easier, but there's so many things to it. Learning a new writing system. Well, I guess it's not a new system with that, but there's new sounds and new words, and so. I got so many reasons. I could go on and on. As you know, we talk about this all the time. But yeah, I love learning languages, and you know, I study some French too. So I love languages in general. But especially Spanish. It's really close to my heart. So that's a
Excellent.
little bit.
And yeah, you are right there. While at the beginning it might be a new language, new sounds and things like that. But I think, well, like anything in life, if you want to obtain results, and you have to be consistent at it. But I think cognitively it has been shown that by research and science, and we talk about that as well, that there are many benefits of learning a second language. And but tell me about how did you start learning Spanish? Did you start it on your own? And then what has been your journey so far and your experience?
Sure. So I started actually. I always tried on and off for years. Like, I think years and years ago, I got like a Pimsleur CD. I want to say, or maybe it was Pimsleur or something, and I would throw it into my CD player, like in my car. You know, and that was it was alright, but it was kind of, you know, I thought it was kind of boring. It would be, you know, just say the colors, rojo, red, and so I'm driving down the street, you know, rojo, red, azul, blue. So you know, I didn't hate it. I listened to it, but I don't know. I kind of fell off of that, and it wasn't until years later when I got a legitimate smartphone. So you know, I'm talking on my smartphone now, but I started discovering all these games, these cool like language games. And one that I fell in love with at the beginning. I mean, I was obsessed with this thing was Duolingo. And I would sit there and play, you get a streak going, right? And so just like any game, you're like, hey, I don't want to lose my streak. I think at one point, I went something like 3 years without missing one day on that game. Like I would get up no matter what, no matter what, I would get up and be like, oh, I got to get my Duolingo in. And I would play for hours. And eventually, though, I moved way past that. There's so many things I think that can improve once, it was good to get the journey started. So it was like, I learned a lot of words, but honestly, I would talk real choppy. I didn't really know how to say much. It wasn't until I started listening to a ton of podcasts and reading and listening at the same time, which is, as you might know, Steve Kaufman. He's a linguist. He has this link called Linked, and I like to use that app. On top of that, though, I would play a bunch of other ones too, but those are the main ones. One of the main things I would say is actually, believe it or not, to get good at talking in Spanish, I had to talk to people, and so I met a lot of cool people. You're one of them, obviously. I'm one of those. There's these exchange apps, so using these different apps, I use like Hello Talk, which is another one where just any given moment I could talk to people from Spain or from Colombia or Cuba or so talking to people and actually I got tutors. You're a Spanish tutor yourself, so me and you chat all the time. And then I had one guy from Oaxaca, Mexico. I haven't talked to him for a little while, but we were talking at least once a week. But I would say, if I had to say two things that shot my ability up, I'm still, at an intermediate level, so to speak, but the ability to actually communicate was listening and reading at the same time and actually talking to people using apps, and then obviously talking to people in my environment. So those are the main things. That's my kind of long-winded journey, but that's it.
So talking about the learning with an online tutor, how did you find that experience? Did it really help you?
As far as how it helped me, I mean, it helped tremendously because I would try to talk to people like in my environment, but a lot of people that I was speak to in Spanish in the streets, sometimes they speak English. So sometimes for me to stumble through my Spanish, was like, all right, well, we could just do this in English. And, they would let me do it. But to get a tutor that lets you make mistakes, that lets you talk to them and you feel safe with and you feel comfortable, because that's the most important thing, is to feel comfortable talking to somebody. And if every time you go to say something, you always feel nervous, you're like, oh, am I going to say this right? It's going to kill your progress. And I know, it still does it for me sometimes. But if I get nervous trying to talk to somebody, me and you could talk, right? Like we're friends, and I could sit there and start flowing with Spanish, and just listen to my mistakes, and maybe you'll throw a tip in there, but you don't sit there and go, hey, nope, Shane, you said that wrong. So having a tutor allows you to like work through that process, right? Imagine if you try to stop your kid, you're like 3 or 4-year-old kid learning the language. Nope, you don't say it like that. They might not be able to talk anymore. So it helped me a ton. I can't say enough.
Yeah, I think it's very important, the fact that you create not only as a student, but also as a teacher, to create a learning environment that people feel confident and safe. I mean, there are ways and ways to correct mistakes. And I would say that normally you let the student talk, and towards the end, you invite them to reflect on, on those areas where they have made a mistake. So you elicit from them the answer, and if they don't know, obviously, you as a teacher, you give them the answer. But that is at least the way I like to work with the students. So yeah, that's great. The last question will be, as a parent as well, will you in the future think of enrolling your kid in Spanish, perhaps at some point in a school? What will be the benefits that you see for your child, or for any child, spending time in learning Spanish in a school?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I mean, a lot of times, most classes, especially in junior high, I don't know if they have as much in elementary, but they have electives for languages. So definitely, I would, you know, I mean, if she wanted to do French, I wouldn't stop her from doing French, but I said, no, you have to do Spanish. But, you know, I would encourage her to do Spanish. And obviously in the house, I speak Spanish to her. And, you know, and as far as the benefit though, it's especially if you live in America. I mean, this go for anywhere, but, again, it's the second most spoken language. I mean, like there's just so many people. I mean, I could, you know, there's certain stores I walk into in my community that's it's essentially all Spanish speaking. So it's to not be, to me, that alone, to not be able to speak to, you know, it's like almost half the population. It's like, why would you not want to be able to talk to people around you? So, and then again, all the benefits I said for myself, as far as the brain, the benefit to just your ability to think, to have another lens to look through life, I think is important. And then I think that the more you can learn these sounds earlier, you know, allows you to learn other languages later in life. You know, so there's so many benefits. I mean, but yeah, I definitely, and in fact, I speak it to her. One other thing that never ceases to amaze me, how she's never studied obviously a grammar book or anything or any language. And I say stuff to her and she just picks it up. Like I can sit there and say like, you know, ¿qué estás haciendo? Oh, I'm just playing with my dolls over here. You know, I'm like, oh, like, you know, ¿cuál es ellos nombre? And she say, oh, this is, she just understands. I'm like, how does she, like, what? I mean, kids just pick it up like a sponge. So, I mean, it's, you know, you just talk to them.
So there you have it. It is possible to learn Spanish at home. Shane started learning Spanish on his own and at some point in his journey found useful to hire a Spanish online tutor who gave him the space and guidance that he needed to talk in Spanish and learn at his own pace. If you feel like you need some help, you can find a link below to my website. Fill in the contact me form for a free assessment. If you like this video, please let me know by liking it below, subscribe and share it with other students or parents. And comment below if you found it also helpful. My name is Margarita Varas and here is until next time. Ta-ra.